If you have not watched my previous two videos covering Fujifilm film simulations, I highly encourage you to take the time to watch those first, as it will provide a good foundation to start from. And if you find value in my tutorials, consider leaving a like, some feedback in the comment section, and subscribe for future videos. Let's go. Fujifilm understands the value film simulations bring to the user. Fujifilm also understands that experimentation is a big part of film simulations. So they have provided us with up to 7 custom slots we can assign film simulation settings to. I will be showing you 3 different ways to assign custom settings, and of course, stick around to see my personal custom settings where I'll briefly explain why and when I use them. So the first method, and probably the method most people will use, is to adjust via the menu. Open up the menu. In IQ settings, we can see the current assigned film simulation, and below that, all the extra settings we can adjust. If you already have a film simulation recipe in mind, go ahead and make all the changes. For demonstration, I will make some random adjustments to these settings. Let's work our way down until we have made all our necessary changes, and scroll down until we get to Edit, Save, Custom Setting. Press OK, and it will bring up the 7 custom slots. Using the joystick, select which slot we wish to save to and press OK again. Select Save Current Settings and press OK. A confirmation window will appear. Select OK. Once we have confirmed, it will take us back to the Edit Save Custom Settings screen. It would be a good time now to rename the custom slot we have just assigned for ease of future reference. So with the slot selected, press OK. Select Edit Custom Name, press OK. Either using the joystick and menu OK button, or on the X100V, using the touch function, we can go ahead and create a name. If we make a mistake, simply highlight the character we wish to delete using the back or forward arrows, select Delete, and press OK. If we wish to insert a character between 2 existing characters, highlight the character that comes after the character we wish to place and select the character we wish to add in. Once we are happy with the name, select Set to finish renaming, and it will take us back to the Edit Save Custom Settings menu. Press the Display Back button to go back to the IQ menu and choose Select Custom Setting. Select the custom setting we have just created and press OK. The camera has now applied all the settings we have assigned to that custom slot. So, if we exit the menu, what we'll see on the LCD screen and the electronic viewfinder will be a representation of the settings we have applied. The second method is how to edit and overwrite existing custom slots. Heading back into the IQ settings, scroll down to Edit, Save Custom Setting. Select the custom slot we want to make changes to. Press OK and select Edit. This will take us to the editing screen. On the top, it will display the custom slot that is being edited. Here, we can make changes to the film simulation or any of the extra settings. Let's say, for example, we want to change the film simulation to Eterna and we want the sharpness to be at +1. We will go ahead and make these changes. Once we are happy, in order to save these changes, press the Display Back button. A confirmation screen will appear. Select OK. Now we have successfully made changes to an existing custom slot. If we wish to make changes to other custom slots, simply repeat the process and make sure to give the slot a custom name. The third method is creation via the Fujifilm X RAW Studio application on the computer. This will require an existing photo in RAW format taken with the camera we wish to make custom profiles for on the computer. To understand how to use X RAW Studio, please watch part 2, and use the timestamp to watch the section on how to use XRAW Studio. So I have a raw image I have edited here. To save the settings, at the top right of the window there are two drop-down menus called User Profile and Camera Profile, and a Save button next to each tab respectively. User Profile will save the settings to the application, so we can convert any other raw images imported into the application from the same model camera. Camera Profile will export the settings to the camera's custom slots. So let's go ahead and click Save next to Camera Profile. This will bring up a pop-up where we can choose which custom slot to assign these settings to. Select the slot and another pop-up box will appear where we can give the profile a name. Hit OK and we are done. Now if we disconnect the camera and head into IQ Settings menu and select Custom Settings, we can see the profile has been saved successfully. XRAW Studio is a great way to create film simulation profiles, as you can see the changes each setting makes to an image in real time. So those were the three methods of creating custom settings for Fujifilm cameras. Now we will go over my current profiles and I explain why and when I use them. The first profile is black and white high key. It uses the Acros plus red filter as the film simulation, and I have boosted the highlights slightly and shadows significantly. As you can imagine, this creates a high contrast, dramatic and stylized look that I really love using to accentuate lines, shapes, and other forms of abstraction. It is also good at isolating subjects and creating silhouettes in the right lighting conditions, and that would be in harsh sunlight situations where the light cast onto the objects and subjects create a distinct separation between the bright and dark areas. This isn't the best profile if you want to preserve tonal detail. Nevertheless, I personally really like it, and some of my favorite photos were made using this profile. You can push it in camera even more by increasing or decreasing the exposure compensation, depending on how bright or dim the scene is. The next profile I call Urban Mood. It uses the classic chrome simulation, and this profile is what I mainly use in urban environments. Dark shadows and slightly raised highlights gives it a heavy look. For urban landscapes with very muted color palettes, classic chrome works very well. At the same time, it can also render colors in a pleasing way. I use this in any daytime light situation. In bright sunlight, it creates a very contrasty image similar to that of the black and white high key profile. And in more overcast scenarios, it can still provide that dramatic mood with the extra punch in the shadows. In general, just a solid performing profile for most city environments. The next profile is my go-to simulation for that vintage film-like look. I named it Fujifilm because, well, it's not real film. I don't even know if there is a film stock out there that renders images like this, but I personally like the look and it makes me feel the nostalgia. This profile is the one I currently use for when my urban mood profile is too much. It uses the classic negative simulation. I have white balance set to 5500 Kelvin as that simulates vertical daylight, and I shifted the reds to +2 and blues to -4. Due to this reason, this profile is only really used during the daytime with moderate to ample sunlight. I also tend to dial the exposure compensation from +1/3 up to +1 full stop when using this profile. The only real downside is sometimes highlights can get blown out, so either set dynamic range to 400% and shoot above ISO 640, or dynamic range at auto and bring back some highlight detail in post-processing, but you would need to shoot in RAW format to do this. The next two profiles are highly situational and cannot be used outside of these scenarios. First up is a profile I like to call Light Film. It's a profile I created that is loosely based on film stocks when overexposed to give that flat, pastel looking effect. I use classic chrome simulation as the base as it has a slightly muted look with a slight punch in contrast. From there, it's just a matter of lowering the highlights and shadows to make it more flat. I would always try to shoot this profile with dynamic range set to 400% and exposure compensation between +1 and +2 to get that pastel look. But of course, depending on the lighting situation, I would want to bring back highlight detail in post-processing if I really want it to look more like film. This profile does not work well with human subjects, as the skin will look too washed out, but for photographing landmarks and landscapes during the day, it works really well to create that pastel aesthetic. A lot of my simulations cater to daytime scenarios because I rarely photograph at night. However, I created a profile, aptly named Night, for when the occasion calls for it. I used Classic Negative as the simulation, but Classic Chrome or Pro Negative High works as well. I have Kelvin values set to 4500 to balance most cool or neutral white fluorescent lights, which are very common at night. I also shifted the reds to -4 and blue to +1 as an aesthetic choice. It makes things look a bit more natural at night, both indoors and outdoors. And lastly, I have a profile called Flat. It's fairly self-explanatory. I used Pro Negative Standard as the simulation, and I went ahead and lowered the highlights, shadows, color, and sharpness to their lowest values. This creates a super flat, close to what a RAW file would look like. This is the profile I use if I want to play around with editing on my phone. Basically, I would take a photo with this profile and using the Fujifilm app, transfer the JPEG to my phone where I can then proceed to edit using the Snapseed app. I have presets I made on that app, which I can instantly apply to these flat JPEGs to quickly bring out a look I can't otherwise get straight out of camera. So there you have it. I hope this has been of help to those who are just getting into the wonderful world of film simulations and customization on their Fujifilm cameras. Don't forget to share this video with anyone you know who are new to the Fujifilm system. Thanks, and until next time.